Hey bestie, and welcome back to the Plobcast. Unfortunately, this episode is going to be not lighthearted at all. It is going to be a very dark conversation that we need to have because of what has currently happened. Usually political things are completely banned from my podcast, but this is not a conversation of politics, but of humanity because of the things I have seen from both sides related to what happened with the Charlie Kirk situation yesterday. It is an important conversation that we all need to be having. The reactions I have seen yesterday, I literally had to call the FBI to report something I stumbled across a couple hours after the Charlie Kirk shooting. So as a reminder that this podcast is 18 plus, I will do some lighthearted stories at the end. I have had some follower submissions for plob stories, and like I said, politics is usually not allowed on this page, but we're not going to be discussing the politics. We are going to be discussing the absolute insanity that is the reactions that I have seen from people. This was not supposed to be the podcast episode this Thursday, because twice a week, but once we finish this important discussion, I will get into the plob stories. We will end on a lighter note. But as I said, it's like 4 times now, I'm sorry to repeat myself, this is a discussion we need to have. No matter what side of the fence you are on, the reactions from both sides, some of them are beyond inhumane. Oh Lord, the irony. I just went to grab a drink before I got into this, because I'm going to need it. Not like that, soda, to be clear. I just meant for my throat, and I checked my notifications, and once again, got another extreme comment bringing his children into this. So let's just dive into it. Firstly, I do want to warn people, just as I warned them on TikTok, please be careful when you go to look up any updates on this. There are people who are repeatedly posting the video close up of the shooting without any kind of filter or warning out there in the open. If you don't know, the system will automatically put a filter on it after so long. So when you first upload it, those filters that'll say, do you want to view image or whatever because it's violent, those don't automatically pop up unless you select for them to. And a lot of people are reposting it over and over again so that it's unfiltered and people are seeing it, including children. I have had so many comments of people being like, oh my God, I just went to look for an update and I saw it. Same thing happened to me. It's actually how I knew that he was dead before they announced it, because I've worked in an ER. I'm a veteran. I knew the second I saw it, I was like, there's no way he survived that. And here's the thing is I couldn't stand the man. I will fully admit I cannot stand the man. After the first time I was made aware of him was the back and forth debate that he did where he talked about if his own daughter got raped, it was part of God's plan. And I'm like, yeah, that's not fucking okay. But that brings me to part of the problem that I am seeing. The amount of people bringing his innocent children into this is so disgusting. If someone wants to say, oh, I'm not sad that he's dead, okay, whatever, that's your opinion, that's fine. But to say that his family deserved to be traumatized, to say that we should be going to this extreme of lengths to be shooting people, go fuck yourself. Jesus Christ, those are innocent children. Here's the fucking irony in it, is I've seen multiple creators who make videos, because I follow a lot of creators who talk about childhood abuse, because I'm a survivor of childhood abuse myself. And I see a lot of creators who I have unfollowed so many people because they have made videos about their childhood trauma and being abused and how, everybody feel bad for them because, they went through the trauma of being abused and, how we don't pick our parents. But then they're happy and celebrating that these little girls are traumatized for life. They didn't pick their parent just as much as you as a childhood abuse victim picked their parent. These little girls are in the cognitive development stage of their brain. Their brains are developing, and that is going to cause lifelong issues after seeing that. They are too young to understand, their parents' beliefs and all of these things. But they are old enough that is going to be seeing their own father get shot in front of them is going to be a core memory for the rest of their life. Go look it up. There are dozens of studies talking about how trauma physically affects the brain. I've posted my own brain scan before from, before I was in the Army and because I had gotten a brain scan for a migraine one time, and then what my brain looked like outside, after I got out. Once I had severe complex PTSD, it shows, you can physically see the difference. This wasn't a situation where he was in a heated debate with an adult in a random alley or some crap. and he's, cussing and screaming at the guy, and the guy ends up shooting him. He was brutally murdered in front of innocent his own children. I also don't think that we should be escalating to that point either way. I think it's ironic that the same people who are screaming gun control are the same people celebrating a gun violence. Like, what? The hypocrisy. Here's the thing, is I will go ahead and share my political beliefs, even though I don't talk about it very often. I used to talk about politics more whenever I got to speak to the House of Representatives back in 2021. But here's the thing that pisses a lot of people off is I am neither Democratic or Republican. Quickest way to describe my beliefs, I think that we should be putting pedophiles down like dogs, but we should also provide free lunches for children in need. I stand behind living in a stand your ground state and self-carry and teaching people how to use those firearms. I keep forgetting I'm not on TikTok, so I can just say it. But I also believe that some randomly mentally ill teenager or barely adult, any randomly disturbed person should not be able to go buy an AR at a freaking gun show without, any kind of real background check. Because that's what a lot of people don't understand is, like, here in Texas, I am happy that we have the stand your ground law, because that is so important as a domestic violence victim who has watched the system fails so many times, and we all know by now the most dangerous time, the most deadly time for a domestic violence victim is when they leave. I have had to pull the trigger in self-defense before. I have shot a man to defend 3 innocent children and his wife. Told that story before, and for those of you who are unfamiliar, no, he is not dead. I did not shoot to fatally kill him. In that moment, it was not necessary. His weapon was a large knife. He was charging after his own kids, and I told him to back off. I gave him a warning. He did not take that warning. He looked me in the face, said, "Bitch, you won't do it," and I shot him in the kneecap. He is now an amputee. But just to be clear, if it had been a situation where he had had a gun or something where, a fatal shot was necessary, I would have taken it. But there is no reason a 17, 18-year-old can go to one of these gun shows in this area and buy an AR. You can disagree with me if you want, but there's also no reason for a random civilian to need an AR. I see a lot of people who try to argue about hunting. Baby, as someone who spent every summer on the farm hunting, I'm a Thanksgiving-born baby. We used to go turkey hunting. Anybody who actually hunts knows that not only are you the worst hunter in the world if you need an AR to take out a deer or whatever you're hunting, but it's also going to ruin the meat. That argument is just BS. To sum up my summary of my political beliefs, I also believe that weed should be legal. We should be taxing the rich a lot more than we currently do, but also that people who abuse the system, like food stamps and welfare, that choose not to work to stay on it longer and run these little scams and crap, should be in jail. Right, prison, because, more than a year you're in prison instead of jail. And how if we stopped allowing that kind of stuff with the improper and abuse of the system, we'd be able to afford to give more to those who do need it. I grew up in severe poverty. I was the kid who got free lunch on Friday at school and sometimes didn't eat again until Monday free breakfast. And there are people that do need it. I've seen people who do need it for their whole life because they're severely disabled and barely getting a disability check, and they're not able to work. But I've also watched people in my neighborhood that I grew up in run entire scams. I've seen people throw food stamp parties, which is where they would celebrate getting food stamps. And I am not saying people should be ashamed to be on food stamps. Like, I remember feeling so much shame when I was on food stamps. And I think we shouldn't shame people because, there's a lot of people that do need those. And it shouldn't be a shameful thing to ask for help that you need. But the people that celebrate cheating the system, like running a whole scam, no, fuck you. Okay, now that we have summed up my political beliefs in the quickest way I could, let's get into the things I have seen from both sides that is beyond inhumane. As I said, the videos, people purposely trying to re-upload them without filters or tags over and over again to make it so random people, including children, are seeing them. Absolutely disgusting. But in the process of looking up an update, because like I said, once I'd seen it, I knew the guy was dead. It might be dark to say, but if you're in the medical field, anybody who's been in the medical field, or even just veterans in general that know basic stuff, like basic human anatomy and whatnot, if you saw it, you knew. But shortly after seeing that video, I accidentally stumbled upon another person's page who was a supporter of Charlie Kirk and started making video after video. I mean, we got 20, 30, 40, 50 by the end of this situation, over an hour of post after post after post of him making threats about how he was going to go shoot up a place, and revenge for Charlie Kirk, about how he was going to start a war, talking about how Charlie Kirk being shot meant that it was a war for liberals, and that he was going to go get revenge for Charlie Kirk. He started showing fire weapons. He was making a plan, which led to me having to call the FBI and be like, hey, the first video I saw, okay, maybe he's blowing off steam or whatever, but then when he started showing the firearms and making a plan, I was like, oh, no. This guy is not just, this is not a guy blowing off steam. What's scarier is this is not a one-man situation. I fell down the rabbit hole. There was people interacting with him on there who were trying to join him, who were making plans themselves. Lord, the poor FBI has got a job cut out for them. I posted yesterday too, it was this morning. I posted this morning a video, and I show like the FBI number and all of that and go over how I made that call just in case anyone else stumbles across more threats. Sorry for the pause. I had to take a second because we are about to start talking about the posts from the other side that are wrong. I want to make this absolutely clear. If you are one of the people who are saying that you hope his children are next, if you are making remarks about how you think it's funny that his own daughters witnessed this, you are a fucking piece of shit. There's no ifs and or buts about that. Those children did absolutely nothing. Those are innocent children. Hating him does not mean bringing in innocent children into this argument. Like I said, I'm not mourning the guy. I didn't like him. But there is no fucking world where it is okay to be bringing his kids into this. And if you are one of those people who constantly shares your story of childhood abuse and you want sympathy and attention and stuff and people to feel bad for you because you went through childhood abuse and your parents abused you, and then you're celebrating children getting traumatized and wishing harm upon them just because of who their parents are, I hope that nobody ever shows you sympathy for what you went through ever again, because you are proving that you are fully aware that children have no say over who their parents are or what their parents do, but yet you think it's okay to come after innocent children because you didn't like the man. Those little girls' brain development has now been permanently altered. How they are going to mentally develop the rest of their life is permanently altered because of what they witnessed. And to wish that on innocent children makes you the scum of the fucking earth. You are just as shitty as those people who are posting how they want revenge and plan on shooting random innocent people too. But also, those of you who are doing this fake tear shit are pissing me off. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I would rather be stuck in a room with somebody that I completely fucking disagree with, that has shitty opinions to me, that I can't stand, that at least genuinely stands behind what they say, than these motherfuckers who try to play both sides for a paycheck. That I would rather deal with somebody I don't fucking agree with and I can't stand than somebody who pretends to side with me that is a fucking piece of shit because they're getting paid for it. And I ran across a lot of that last night. So if you are somehow unaware, both political parties have been caught in the past paying people to make videos for them and support their party. There was even a creator who exposed where both parties had offered them money and told them that they didn't even have to disclose that it was paid. Which, here's the thing, is if you already actually agree with the party and you're just getting a paycheck because you already legitimately agree with them, okay, whatever, that's your business, get your bag. But the people who do it just for the paycheck and don't even believe whatever the fuck they're saying is such fucking insanity. The lack of integrity. Once again, it's just like we discussed earlier this week on TikTok, which was about a whole nother thing, but it's a prime example of people choosing money over morals. When those things had gotten exposed, both times that, both parties have been exposed for doing this, some people would discover who some of the people were, but not who everybody on that list was. And I ended up discovering some more people on that list last night who made it very fucking obvious that they are the kind of people that are just pretending to have these views for a paycheck. I had multiple creators who have made video after video screaming about how much they hate Charlie Kirk and how horrible of a guy he was and people like him are and how horrible his beliefs were. And then cried on the internet about, oh my gosh, he wasn't that bad. Here's the thing, is it's okay to mourn that, we had a tragedy, right? Despite the fact that I can't stand the guy, I will agree with one thing he said where he talked about how empathy disgusts him. And here's the thing is, fake empathy disgusts me. Both lack of empathy, but also fake empathy disgusts me. And the way the same people who were absolutely dogging this man and people like him for views and clout, and I even discovered one of them has a little paid content tag on some of their videos, so it's like, oh yeah, you got paid for this. Those same people were defending him, and I don't mean defending like he shouldn't have been shot, right? I'm talking about defending him as morals was the thing. If, people being like, hey, so this was not okay that he was shot, that's one thing. But there were people legitimately being like, oh, well, I know I've bashed him forever, but he's not a bad person. Suddenly he did nothing wrong. And I'm like, you made a career, basically. Like, how many thousands of dollars have you made by bashing this man? And now that he's dead, and you're not going to get any more money if you keep bashing him, and that you'll get more money by showing fake empathy, you're suddenly being like, oh, he wasn't a bad person to me. I didn't ever think that. Bitch, if you truly have so much empathy for him all of a sudden, then you wouldn't be posting. You would post one little thing saying, hey, it's not okay that he got shot in front of his kids and all of this stuff. It's not okay that this violent act happened, and be done with it. Not make all these posts and go live, suddenly pretending like you liked the guy, just so you can get some views and extra money. I cannot stand people who are so inauthentic with the trying to play both sides. And if you've not seen my video exposing tricks that large creators do to do this kind of shit, not all large creators, but certain large creators, I'm going to get into that here in a second. But every time I see this, it reminds me of the creators who will lie about products. Like, they'll make a video being like, oh my gosh, look how well this product worked, and for a paycheck, even though they don't use the product and the product sucks, they're just scamming their followers into buying it so they can get a paycheck. Oh god, I see a lot of that on TikTok Shop. And the people that do this with politics too, where it's saying whatever gets them the most money, the biggest check, the most views, is just as shitty. I will always pick stating my honest opinion for free over getting paid to say something I don't stand behind. And I'm constantly told by large full-time content creators how, if I don't start doing stuff like that, throwing away my morals, that I'm not ever going to be able to be big or anything like that. Here's the thing is, I'm not doing this to be a full-time content creator. I have a career, I have an education, a job. I'm not trying to be rude towards people that do want to be full-time content creators. But I do this for fun and to raise money for the domestic violence shelter, and then I started my YouTube to try to eventually get monetized on there because they make a lot more money on there, to open a veterans crisis center. That is why I do this. I'm not doing this so I can eventually get a Birkin and a Ferrari, and I refuse to sacrifice my morals for that kind of shit. The amount of full-time creators who end up on substances because they're so fucking depressed with their choices, yeah, tells a lot. There's a reason why there are so many creators who are in full addiction that started right after they got big. Because once they started doing a lot of this BS and like throwing away their morals for money, it starts to chip away at you. I mean, some people are just soulless and have no problem with it, but I've watched it destroy people mentally. Speaking of destroying people mentally with bad choices, I do want to say, I'm not Catholic, but dear Lord, I think Nicolas Cage might need an exorcism because he keeps getting himself cursed. Didn't see that news this week. Holy crap. So, do a 5-minute summary. Nicolas Cage, a few years ago, bought a extremely cursed mansion. Sorry for that random ringing. My water bill was calling to remind me. The irony of me talking about rich people and then... I was supposed to pay it yesterday and got distracted by everything that had happened. I'll pay it once I'm done off this podcast. But yeah, the Nicolas Cage stuff. So if you've seen American Horror Story, it's the character that Kathy Bates plays, which was a real life woman though. That was a horrific, Lalaurie was a horrific, torturous, racist piece of shit slave owner who would do horrific torture on her slaves. She owned that mansion. She ended up getting her slaves repoed, and then there was some stuff where she was sneaking and getting them another way and stuff, and it was bad to the point where she ended up getting which it's so wild to say she got her slaves repoed because it's so disgusting to think, like, to remember how Black people were literally treated like property back then. She ended up, being sentenced to death. The town came for her, and that mansion is extremely haunted because of it. It's considered the most haunted place in New Orleans, basically. And Nicolas Cage and his dumbass decided, let me buy this. He's never lived in that house full time either, because he quickly learned how bad of an idea it was. He was getting... His career plummeted. He was feeling the effects. I mean, it was strongly affecting his life in a negative way. A man straight up got himself cursed. And he eventually realized, oh shit, this was a horrible decision. I'm cursed over this, and tried to save himself by then buying 2 burial plots next to one of the most infamous voodoo queens, Miss Queen Marie, and built a pyramid-shaped burial plot, like burial stone, memorial stone, whatever you want to call it, placing it on the grave, even though he hasn't passed yet, next to her. It's just made it worse, because then he starts feeling some curses from that situation. Guy's life starts getting worse. And now he has decided he is going to be the lead role playing Jesus in a horror movie about Jesus. And now he started to have even more bad luck. He was swarmed by a freaking thing of bees while on set, just like coming for this guy. I don't know what the fuck this guy... Nicolas Cage is the definition of fuck around and find out. He is over here just burying his hole deeper. I swear, he woke up one day and was like, let me see how many religions I can piss off before I pass away. Someone said that he needed an exorcism from both the Pope, and he needed an exorcism from a witch, and I'm like, buddy, he needs something. You need to take him to one of those centers that has like multiple religious services, and he just needs to live there for like a month, because he just keeps finding more religions to piss off. Jesus Christ, man. Why would you be like, yeah, I'm gonna play Jesus Christ in a horror movie after I've already pissed off other religions? Because that went so well for me the first time. The time after that and everything, like, buddy. Also, if you have seen recent pictures of him without makeup, dude looks like his body is feeling the curse too. Like, it's just going. If you look at a picture right before he bought that burial plot beside the voodoo queen Marie, and then like a year later, it's like, holy crap, what happened, buddy? Except for we know what happened. He's got himself cursed and just keeps going down the rabbit hole even farther. I remember seeing a video years ago of this dog who was licking, it was like wasabi or something, and then like freaking out, but then he would come back and lick it again and then freak out and come back, and I'm like, look, that's what I thought of. I was like, oh, so Nicolas Cage is the human version of this dog. There are some people in this world I look at and their decisions and I go, how the heck is this motherfucker still alive? Not like in, not like in somebody take him out or anything like that. That's not all what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, they make such dumb decisions. I'm like, how have you not? You are the reason we got warning labels on shit. Now that we have covered a little bit of funny celebrity news, there's another serious topic that we need to discuss that happened yesterday. I'm trying to space these out with, less sad stuff. That way it's not too heavy all at once. I'll cover another silly thing after this. Yesterday, Charlie Kirk was not the only person who was involved in a shooting. There was also a school shooting going around about the same time. In the middle of lunch in Evergreen High School in Colorado, a student walked in and opened fire. 3 students were taken to the hospital. Luckily, none of them passed. A couple that there still has not been, 2 of them there still hasn't been an update, like condition or stuff, other than they are still alive. But then the gunman turned the weapon on himself and did end his life. The kids had to be evacuated to the elementary school to reunite with their parents. These are more young lives that are changed forever, and one that was ended. Now, the identity of the child who did this has not been stated, so we don't know much on him, but there are several students who have made statements saying, and I quote, "This is the scariest thing you'd think could ever happen." There's also an officer who has said that the child who did this was not even old enough to drive. There has been 46 school shootings this year alone. In 2025, it is September 11th. It is 9/11, and there has been over 40 school shootings this year already. And to be clear, that's just the school ones. According to the mass shooting tracker that keeps up with all of the mass shootings in the U.S. in general, as of today, there has been 309 in 2025, with an estimation of 302 deaths, 1,354 injuries. I'm gonna say something a lot of people are not going to like because it's the hard truth. While I hate AI and all that crap, instead of focusing on all these posts saying like, oh, AI doesn't have feelings, so it's fine, blah, blah, blah. There's no humanity in AI, so we can mock them and all this crap. We need to focus more on the fact that humans are now lacking humanity. Desensitization to it. People are so desensitized at this point. I remember being in elementary school whenever one of the first mass shootings happened. I was in kindergarten when Columbine happened, and the entire, not just country, but the world was grieving. But we've now gotten to the point where it happens, so that should have been the end of it. That shouldn't have happened in the first place. But once it did happen, it should have been the end of it. It should have never happened again. But it now happens so much that we hear these stories and we read the article. Sometimes don't even read the whole article, read the headline and go, again, and then keep scrolling. It is absolutely disgusting that we have gotten to this point. When Texas started adding the metal detectors this year to a lot of schools, people were flipping out, complaining. At least it's a little bit of a start, because people were complaining, oh, it takes so long to get through the line. Okay, yeah, but at least you don't have to worry about a repeat of what happened last year. You don't know the middle school beside my house. There was a young girl who was stabbed by another young girl to death over bullying. I was actually the emergency contact for one of my neighbor's children who witnessed it, and I stood with her while she talked to the cops while covered in her friend's blood until her parents arrived to be able to take over. It is absolutely gut-wrenching to watch a child go through that, see the horror on their face, talking about what they just experienced, what they just saw. These extreme acts of violence don't just affect the people who are it's taken out on. It affects the people that witness it, go through it, their families. It is absolutely insane that we've gotten to this point, that it is this common. My local movie theater that we go to, I have like my little movie pass, literally has cops there every Friday and Saturday, to the point where I know one of the cops, she actually like goes ahead and helps with ticket checking because she gets bored, but they're there because of the issues with like theater shootings and everything. Don't worry, they won't bust, she won't bust you if you have like snacks in your bag though. I'm not gonna lie, I had a little bit of a scared moment the first time I ever went and didn't know, because she went to look in my bag and I'm thinking, girl, please don't snitch on me for having this candy in there. I love movie theater popcorn. I even get 20% off of it for having a little movie pass, but I am not paying $5 for a box of cookie dough bites when I can get them for $1.25 at the Dollar Tree next door. But it's also super sad that we've gotten to the point where cops are just having to patrol literally just a movie theater to try to prevent something because things have gotten so bad. I do think the whole cell phone thing is bullshit though, because especially with what's going on in this country, kids should be able to have I'm not sitting in class playing on it or anything, but for when they're on breaks and lunch, during emergencies. I mean, the incident that happened at that school by my house was not the first incident that happened. There was another incident where a child had brought a gun to school, was showing it to other kids, showing the ammo that was in his bag. And since it was reported by a student, by the way, not by a teacher, like she tried to take credit, student reported it after finding out and after being shown it, and they were able to get that child, get the weapon away before anything happened. That school tried to shove it under the rug. They said, oh, there was just a weapon, there was no risk at all, and all this BS. They initially made their statement, and then quickly, kids started posting it on Snapchat, the videos of this kid showing it and everything, and went, no, that's not what happened. Not to mention that they tried to lie and say it was a teacher that discovered it when the kid, was on camera that reported it, which is going to cause even further of an issue because they're kids. These are preteens, teenagers. You just stole credit for them doing the right thing, so that's just going to discourage them from doing the right thing next time. I think it is important that children have their phones on them at school, not sitting in class playing on them whenever they're supposed to be doing work. That's a whole other thing. But the whole taking them away completely is bullshit. But let's pause the sad stuff again to tell a little funny story that happened this week. You guys might have seen this video. We are winning the plob war, you guys, because another game store has made the decision to ban ban people from coming in that are shitting their pants and refusing to shower. I was sent a video of the sign, and I'm going to read it to you. So, the sign to this card shop reads, "Players, do not enter unless you are wearing deodorant and have showered," underlined shower, and deodorant is also underlined, "in the last 24 hours. You will be asked to leave if your attitude or smell is a disruption." I love that they also included the attitude, because if you, oh my goodness, if you have, sorry, I messed up my mic. But if you have ever been to a card shop, you've ever gamed in general, not, D&D too, there are some toxic ass motherfucking plobs out there. These motherfuckers will have a whole actually moment. Meanwhile, the only thing that you can focus on is the fact that their body odor is assaulting your nose. So I really love that they included both the smell and the attitude problem. I have met so many people who absolutely love, card games like Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon. They love D&D and stuff. They love Warhammer, but they can't enjoy it. They end up losing their enjoyment from the game because they don't have anybody to play with. So they go to a local card shop or a local game store and end up dealing with some asshole. Oh, especially the elitists. The elitists will fuck it. First of all, you may be an elite player of Magic the Gathering, but I need you to be an elite deodorant user before you run your fucking mouth. You nasty ass motherfuckers. They'll treat newbies like shit. And women too. A lot of them think that women shouldn't. These incel fuckers think that women shouldn't be playing these games. But they also treat newbies just in general like shit. Oh, how do you not know this? Because everybody's got to start somewhere. I've met some people who are like, I want to play D&D forever. I want to play Magic the Gathering forever. I really want to get into Warhammer. But I'm scared because of how shitty people act. The elitism is ridiculous. I have played D&D for over 20 years because I started playing as a kid because my parents played D&D and all the kids would be in the room next door, so we just made our own little campaign. It's 8 or 9, I think, maybe 7, I'm not sure. I was in elementary school, and I will gladly welcome newbies in. Those of you who didn't see it, I even did a little tour where I was DMing one-shots for different streamers because I'm so into the game. I've got so much experience. There was plenty of people at those tables and in those sessions and stuff that didn't have any experience. I love that people are getting into D&D and more people are welcoming into it, but there's still those of motherfuckers, elitist ass plobs being like, well, I only play with people who have experience. First of all, I just want to say, so I met people that have 20, 30, 40 years experience that have no creativity and are a shittier player than the newbie because at least he's got some creativity. I remember this one time I was playing with somebody and it was somebody that had a few years experience and they were supposed to be, we were world building and they were supposed to make up a section of this of land, and the rest of us are going in depth and this is what happened here and this is what happened. Oh, and it's got this village and this store and it's got these flowers and this is the kind of people that hang out there, going in depth, creating character, NPCs and everything. And this one person spent 20 minutes being hold on, took them 20 minutes to come up with something, and they come back and they're like, I couldn't think of anything, so I'm just gonna say it's a field full of rocks. I'm like, what? Even the guy that was this is his first session that was playing with us, at least added some stores and stuff to his story. So the idea that based off of, just because somebody's new to something that they're gonna be shitty is so ridiculous. So now that we've had other funny news, I was about to share one last sad thing before we got into full plob stories, but I just got a phone call as we were sitting here about something that just happened 2 hours from me. So real quick before I forget it, I did want to say what I was originally going to talk about was remind everybody that's making these conspiracy theories about the Charlie Kirk stuff that people are being oh, it's a sniper. It had to have been a sniper because of the way the shot was taken. That was expert, blah, blah, blah. As a veteran who shot 40 out of 40 right out of the gate, like I said, from growing up at the farm and stuff, I shot 40 out of 40 right out of the gate on long distance with the AR. That shot was taken 200 feet away. That could have been done, but I saw these people who are that's not some farm bar shit. That's some, no, that 200 feet away, majority of any hunter, any cop, any veteran, heck, the women that I've taught self-defense at the domestic violence shelter, a lot of people could have taken that shot. This was not a sniper. Please stop making crazy conspiracy theories. But the call I just got, there was a man beheaded in Dallas. At the time of recording this, they are not stating, they're not stating the name of the victim, but this man was stabbed repeatedly and then beheaded in front of his own son and wife at the hotel. This is another prime example of what I was just saying about how the hell did we get this bad as not just a country, but also as a society. Because this stuff like this happening all over the world. As humans, have we become so detached and inhumane that people are doing these horrific things in front of, doing them in general, but also in front of children and family members. Lord. Whew, Lord, I think that's enough bad news for one podcast. Let's spend the rest of this getting into some funny stories. I had a follower submission earlier this week sent to me. I don't know if this counts as a GameStop story or an ER story or what. This is from a former GameStop employee story, follower submission. So this worker reaches out to me and she's like, this isn't something a customer did, but something that my coworker did. I'm like, oh Lord. Sometimes I swear the employee stories end up being worse than the customer stories sometimes. She explains, oh gosh, she had a coworker, another female worker, whose boyfriend was super into Warhammer. Now this man's birthday was coming up, and the day after his birthday, she gets a call from the coworker while she's at work being like, hey, I'm gonna be a little late today. And the follower, is like, oh, what happened? Is everything okay? And the coworker says, yeah, I spent last night in the ER and I woke up a little bit late because of that, but I'm still coming in. And the worker's like, okay, what? Are you okay? Like, is everything good? Like, what do you mean you had to go to the ER? And the coworker's like, oh, yeah, so something happened with my boyfriend's birthday. I'll tell you about it when we get into work. This poor sweet, innocent follower is just worried about her coworker and is like, oh my gosh, I wonder what happened. I hope she's okay. I hope it's nothing bad. This woman said waiting that 45 minutes for her to get there was waiting like hours because she was so genuinely worried to find out what happened to her coworker. Well, GameStop coworker comes in and she is blushing red and she's walking a little off. And followers like, oh my gosh, girl, what happened? Like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, let's just go in the back just to have this conversation. I'll tell you what happened. They get in the back and I'm sorry, it's funny. Coworker is I think it's so funny imagining how genuinely worried this poor woman was for the coworker, thinking something horrific has happened. Like, seriously worried, being like, oh my gosh, what happened? Are you okay? And she then, the ER coworker then proceeds to explain that because her boyfriend is super into Warcraft and it was his birthday. Sorry, Warcraft, not Warcraft. Warhammer. I keep saying Warcraft. I'm so sorry. Warhammer. The little figures. That is important to this context. Because her boyfriend is so into Warhammer, she decided to surprise him and get him some new figures for his birthday. But she didn't just get him new figures. She also got some lingerie and a nice little outfit and decided to take him to dinner too. Here's the thing. Is before dinner, she decided to human gift wrap them. She takes these new little figures out, puts them inside her pussy, gets the lingerie on over top of it, slides a dress over her nice little set, right? And then they go to dinner. And she said she did feel slightly uncomfortable at dinner, but she didn't, she tried to ignore it. They're having this nice dinner. They get home. On the way home, she's being all flirty and is like, oh, I got something special for you for dessert now. Gets home, takes off her dress. She said she laid back on the bed, spread her legs, typical, seduction stuff. As this man goes to pull her nice little lacy panties off, one of the figures had gotten caught in the lace, and he goes to pull it off and basically rips this Warhammer figure out of her. And she said, yeah, it was uncomfortable, but they decided to keep moving on. And he's like, wait, why is there a Warhammer figure in front of you? And she's like, no, keep going. That's not the only one. This man, starts pulling them out like a fucking claw machine, pulls another one out. Oh, by the way, I don't know if I said this earlier, but there was 6 in total. So she still has 4 more in her after pulling out the other one. And they realize some of their little pieces and stuff from, like, you know, being at dinner and sitting around and also just having Warhammer figures shoved up your pussy, had connected to each other. They'd connected to each other. So now they couldn't get the figures out. They said they tried for about 2 hours, was trying everything. To make it worse, they were shoving, like, butter up there. She thought maybe butter would help slide them out. Ma'am, that's just gonna cause a whole other fucking issue. You now have an infection too, girl. Top of whatever infection you got from, like, the chemicals in those figures, because, by the way, if you don't know this, the reason why we talk about body safe toys when we talk about, like, kink safety and education and, like, couples intimacy safety is those really cheap toys from, like, Spencer's and stuff. The reason they have the little thing that says novelty on them is that so they don't get sued, because they can the acidity in your fluids essentially can get some of that chemical, the chemicals in the sealant and stuff, if it is not properly bodily safe sealed, into your skin, causing all kinds of issues, infections, infertility, cancer. So it's like, God knows what else she has just from sticking the Warhammer figures, but then also to shove a bunch of butter up there. My God. They finally, after a couple hours, went to the hospital and had to get them removed. Ma'am, what the fuck? What do you mean that you thought it would be a cute birthday surprise? I'm so... Why didn't you just put it in a gift bag? Why did you put the Warhammer? They come in a package for a reason. You put them in the gift bag, you hand them to them, and then you could do the hanky-panky with your lingerie afterwards. Stop turning yourself into a human gift box. I've not posted this one to TikTok yet because I don't know if this falls under GameStop or the ER story time. Well, with both idiot story times? What the hell? I've seen some shit. I've seen some shit at GameStop, seen some shit in the Army, seen some stuff working in ER. And yet, no matter how much shit I've seen, there's somebody around the corner coming to either show me in person or somebody DMing me a story with something even fucking crazier. I mean, even if you really wanted to, like, implement this gift into the bedroom, why not, like, I don't know, lay on the bed naked and, like, set the little figures on you or something? Why the fuck would you put them inside of you? Also, I apologize if the quality just got weird. The little mic thingy that I usually have in front of it, the little screen just fell. That's why I had to pause, because I started laughing and accidentally knocked it over. Okay, I think I got the little microphone screen back, but, like, what in the world? Also, if you would like more of a visual image, I want you to go look up, if you've never played Warhammer, look up those figures. If you've never played Warhammer, but you've played D&D, imagine, oh God, some of them are a lot bigger than miniatures, but, like, you know, for shape-wise, these aren't, like, little smooth things. These are not something that would be comfortable. How the fuck did you get 6 in there too? This is one of those train wreck moments where I have so many questions, but I also don't want to know at the same time. I mean, I really shouldn't be surprised at the same time, because I recently went to the Dote toy store for my anniversary, and I got a picture of this because I was in such disbelief. But there's a Darth Vader dildo that's like, I think it was like 16 inches, I can't remember. It's like 15 or 16 inches. And to be clear, I'm not talking about like a lightsaber. I've seen plenty of Star Wars nerds get like lightsaber themed dildos. This was a figure of Darth Vader himself. Like, it was Darth Vader, like a 15-inch Darth Vader, made of silicone so that you could put it in yourself. What? I'm all for exploring new textures and stuff, but why are we making, like, entire figures of Darth Vader, of all people? Because I feel like that just encourages people to shove more weird stuff up there. I've told the stories before from when I worked in a trauma ER, and there was the guy who shoved a Barbie up his ass, but, like, please stop. Please stop putting things that don't belong. Like, bro, I follow Badge502 on TikTok. He's the guy that's constantly telling you not to put shit up your ass. And some of the stuff that I see, it's like an insane thing. It'll be like the most insane thing, right? Like people will find stuff in Home Goods and it'll be like a Christmas tree decoration. And he'll be like, don't do it. And there's people in the comments who'll be like, oh, but it has a flared base. Ma'am, that's a Christmas tree ornament. The fuck do you mean it has a flared base? That's all about. Speaking of flared base, another thing I saw in the adult store that I was like, hey, so this is definitely, there needs to be a warning label on this because yes, as somebody who's taught kink education and safety, there are ways to use this particular item for people who are into the more extreme stuff. But also, it's a massive safety risk. An ER visit just waiting to happen for anybody who is you should not be. This is why you need to take safety classes before you dive right into some of the stuff, because there is this butt plug. It's literally on the shelf next to the Darth Vader thing. And it's this massive metal butt plug with a little silicone. For some reason, it was like a silicone base. And here's the thing, is it was not just like a regular metal one. This was a weighted one. That thing had to be a solid 15 pounds. When I went to hang it back up, because I accidentally locked it over and to grab it real quick, it was like, you could not get it to hang by the base because it was going to pull off of the things. It was so heavy. So just a quick reminder, just because it has a flared base does not mean anybody should just be shoving it anywhere. That is one of those things that there's a lot of safety precautions. If you are going to do that, there's a lot of safety precautions and stuff with weighted things like that, because you can literally pull your whole butthole out. Don't recommend looking up a prolapse, but that is a thing that I have seen happen in the hospital. Speaking of kink safety, I do want to give a heads up. There's a video on TikTok I'm going to be posting later this week. I stitched somebody who shares their assault story with somebody they were in a relationship with, somebody they were in kink, dom, submissive situation with, and some very serious things happen to them. I do want to warn everybody to, please, if you see that, please take the trigger warning on that pretty seriously, because they do, even on the censored TikTok version, because they did post some stuff on Instagram and stuff too, it gets pretty fucking dark. But I have made a Stitch video that I want to address because I want to remind people of safety and how serious it is, because this person had to go to therapy. They are visibly shaken, and also what happened to them was not a kink session, as the dominant seemed to have made it wanted. It was rape, but it also could have killed them. It has to do with knife play. It has to do with sensory overload. They also fed them a bunch of drugs. I think they agreed to take a couple of pills. I think it was either 2 or 3 tramadol, which please don't don't be doing that shit. That's already an OD risk. But the guy ended up giving them 12 and restraints and all kinds of. It was a situation where their body could have gone into shock, catatonia for that matter, or OD'd. This whole situation was bad. I'm not going to get into more details, but I wanted to warn people because I've had times where I have shared stories like that and used as an example of hey, this is why we take safety so seriously, and people have not taken the trigger warning serious, and then they come back and they're like, oh my fucking god, why did I watch it? I'm like, yeah, there's a reason why I put that trigger warning on stories like that. Please take it seriously, especially, and if you are already, if you do watch the video and you do get uncomfortable, please don't go digging deeper, because it gets worse. The more uncensored version on Instagram is even worse. I do want to say, for people who are always like, oh, you're so blatant and cruel whenever you say that you want refuse to have anything to do with pieces of shit who refuse to have safe words and blah blah blah. This is why. That person's story is a prime example of why. That person's got lifelong trauma now, had to get therapy, got so many issues over one night. It's not something you just get over. It is a very serious issue. If you do not use safety precautions and safe words when getting spicy with your partner, you are a fucking piece of shit. I just have to give a warning every time I post something like that, because people don't listen to the trigger warnings, and then I get DMs being like, oh my gosh, I'm so traumatized from seeing that. Oh my gosh, that was so horrific. I gave it a trigger warning. Just like when people complain when I tell the plob stories and I put do not eat, and I get at least one comment being like, oh my gosh, I was in the middle of eating and now I'm sick to my stomach. Okay, it's funny when people are joking about it, but I've had people actually be seriously upset, and I'm like, dude, I said not to eat. What do you want me to do? Come through the phone screen and slap the food out of your hand? What do you... buddy. I guess it's one thing when people are being silly and funny about it in the comments, but there are people who legitimately get upset with me over the Palm stories and be like, I was eating. Instead of like having like a laughing emoji beside it, they're serious. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do you want me to do about that? I feel like that mom in that viral video where she's like, it's hot on the bottom. It's hot on the bottom. And the kid keeps trying to grab it from the bottom. And she's like, it is hot on the bottom. That's what I feel like sometimes when I warn people and they don't listen and then they get mad. It's like if I wanted to look over and be like, hey, it's raining outside. And then you walk into the rain and come back and go, I got wet. This is your fault. Like, no, bitch, I told you. I shove you into the rain. I told you it was raining, and then you went in outside and got wet anyways. Why is common sense just completely evading people? At this point, can we even call it common sense anymore? Because I feel like it's not common anymore. Just sense. We're gonna have to start calling it just people having sense. To be clear, I'm saying sense and not sense, because some of y'all got sense. It's an SC, and they are not the good kind. This is why we have to have signs like that say if you haven't showered in the last 24 hours, don't come in the store. That is one thing I still cannot wrap my head around. Because like the other day, my lord, my kid hid my car key. It's a long story. He didn't want to have to go do schoolwork. But in my rush, because I was like trying to locate my key and figure out, like, make sure he was going to get to school in time and everything, I didn't put deodorant on. I was still in my PJs. I didn't get to have my morning shower because I spent all of that time looking for, right? And I remember being too embarrassed, like not wanting to be around people because I was like, oh my gosh, I probably smell, even though I took a shower yesterday. Like, I didn't have time to grab my deodorant. It's why I usually keep deodorant in the car, but my son also apparently used all of that up and didn't tell me because I went to spray it and I'm like, oh, there's nothing in here. But like, I felt mortified in that moment, like being like, I really don't want to get out of this car because, you know, I stink, right? I probably stink. And what's funny is nobody's like, I had people who were like, no, you don't smell. Like, I don't smell anything. I'm like, but it's the fact that I know that I, like, no, I know that I don't have deodorant on in this moment. I immediately went back home and afterwards and got cleaned up and everything. So it blows my mind that people will walk around and be like, hey, so I haven't showered in 2 months. And I keep shitting my pants and not wiping my ass, but I'm going to go out in public and think that it's fine. Usually I try to boost people's confidence, but some of y'all need like a confidence like decrease, because that is a special level of confidence and not giving a shit to walk out of your house with shit streaks in your pants because you didn't wipe your butt and you're unshowered and unbathed and stuff. I have met the sweetest, nicest, kindest people that don't have any confidence. And then the biggest plobs on the planet that do. And I'm like, can we swap this? Is that an option? We just like, ooh, do a little confidence swap. Like, that's over there, but we needed it over here. You don't need it over there with your plop self. Maybe one day we will have the technology to make those little transfers. I am going to cut this podcast a few minutes short, early. It has been a rough couple of days. I pray for all the families that have been affected by every disaster we've had in the last 24. I mean, Lord, it is just one thing after another. It's why I spaced stuff out when covering it, because, you know, it's a lot. Fill in little, you know, silly stories and follower submissions and things that are happening that are more lighthearted. As always, stay safe, stay hydrated, make sure you're showering, using deodorant. I will see you guys next week. I am going to still try to keep on track with that interview. For next week. Once again, I apologize for the horrible quality of the last interview. It was just the echoing from Hayden's phone and his headset and everything. Earphones, whatever. I am going to end this here, and as always, I am a kid all with interchangeable accessories for their pleasure.